Let us begin in a comfortable seated position. It can be easy pose with one shin in front of the other. You can be seated on your knees or cross-legged. We'll just take a few moments at the start of the class to prepare our minds and bodies for yoga. So hands on your knees or on your thighs. Allow your eyes to close. Soften your shoulders. Relax your facial features. And breathe in and out through your nose. Deeper inhales. And longer exhales. Full breath, let the lungs expand fully. And as you exhale, breathe out any tension in the face, your neck, your shoulders. Loosen your limbs, hands and fingers, feet and toes soft. Just take a few more breaths here. As the body relaxes, allow the mind to be at ease. Put aside everything else. Try to be in the moment, to be present. Let's take one more inhale. And exhale. Gently open your eyes and welcome everyone. Let's start off today on our hands and knees, coming into tabletop position. Spread those fingers wide, making big base for your hands. Knees about hips width apart. Toes pointed straight back. Press down into the hands and knees to round the spine, coming into cat pose. We'll stay here for a few breaths. Really want to feel that spread through the shoulder blades. Tuck your chin in a little. Feel the tailbone tuck under. Good. Stretch the back of the body, opening up through the vertebrae. One more deep breath. And let's reverse the curvature of the spine. Keep the tailbone up high. Take your gaze forward. As though you're trying to press the chest through the arms. Belly drops. Lift the chin up a little. Next exhale, arch the spine again, coming into cat pose. Reverse, let the belly drop, lift the chin. Coming back to your flat back tabletop, take the knees out a little wider, toes together, draw the hips back towards the heels, allowing the forehead to touch the ground. If the head doesn't touch the ground, grab a hold of a block or make a stack with your forearms. Place your forehead on the arms instead. While remaining in child's pose, walk your hands towards the right side of the mat, slightly over the head as well. Keep the hips sinking down towards the heels. Stay here for a couple of breaths. Inhale back to the center. Same thing on the other side. Inhale back to the middle. Rise up into tabletop position. Back to your tabletop. Curl your toes under. Walk your hands forward about a foot, half a foot in front. And let the head drop in between the arms as best as you can. Keep the hips up high. Press down into those fingertips. Keep your arms strong. Spread those shoulder blades. Draw the belly in. One more deep breath. Relax back into your tabletop pose. Take the right leg and stretch it back about hip height. Option to reach the left arm forward. Keep a long straight line from the heel towards the fingertips. Your best guess for a straight line anyways. One more deep breath like this. This next one can be done with both hands on the ground or with your left hand reaching out. Next exhale, draw the knee, right knee under the belly. If you have the left arm extended, bring the knee under the belly as well. Round the spine as though you're coming into cat pose. And then inhale to extend. Keep flowing with the breath. Exhale. And inhale. 3 more of these. Last one. Bring it back into a tabletop pose. Curl your toes under, walk your hands forward. Stay either in this down dog on your knees, remain here, or walk your hands towards the left side of the mat. Inhale, come back to the center. Make your way back into tabletop once again. Okay, so again, both hands can remain on the ground, or take the left leg, extend it back. Opposite arm, right arm can stretch forward. As you exhale, squeeze that knee in under the belly. And if you're taking the right arm forward, elbow in as well. And inhale, stretch it out. Exhale. Inhale. 3 more. Just pause it here. Bring it back into tabletop pose. Curl your toes under. Walk your hands forward. Either stay here or walk your hands towards the right side of the mat. One more deep breath. Come back to the center. Press back up into tabletop pose. Okay. Take the right leg and stretch it straight back, but keep the toes curled under. Keep the right toes curled under. Press that heel back as though you're trying to place that heel closer towards the ground. Push strongly into the hands, into the fingers. You should feel this to the back of that right leg, especially those calves, the right calf. Soften it and take that right leg, cross it over to the left side. Maybe it even comes to the outside of the mat. And just cross it over and do the same thing. Press the heel back. Push strongly into the hands, especially that right hand. One more deep breath. Back to your tabletop pose. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Take the left leg, stretch it back, curl the left toe under, push that heel back strongly into the hands. As you push the heel back, keep that breath flowing. All right, let's relax that. Take the left leg, cross it over to the right side. Do the same thing, press that heel back. Excellent. Coming back to your tabletop pose. Walk your hands forward, curl your toes under one more time. This time, if you can, let the chest melt a little bit more. So a little bit more of a back bend, puppy dog pose. Forearms can be on the ground. You can let the chest melt. If you're a little bit more flexible in the shoulders, grab a hold of a block or two or something similar that gives you a little height. And you can place your arms on the block instead. And it just allows your chest to sink even more. You might have to adjust until your hips are aligned over the knees so that you have a little bit more space there. One more thing you could try is to place your elbows on those blocks, palms together, and then let the chest melt. So work to your own level. Do what it takes for you to feel the stretch of the front of the shoulders into the underarms. Take one more deep breath. And then we'll relax that. Move the blocks off to the side if you have it. Come back into your tabletop and just on your own, do a few of cats and cows, a little bit of movement, maybe shifting the hips side to side. And we'll move into our first downward facing dog. Again, make big base with your hands, spread those fingers wide, curl your toes under, look for your inverted V shape. Strong into those arms, spread those shoulder blades, rise up onto your tiptoes and bend both knees. As you exhale, straighten one leg, press that heel down towards the mat, keep the other knee bent. Exhale to switch. And keep pedaling out the feet, bend one knee and then the other. And then finding your way back to downward dog. Both legs a little straighter, those heels reaching down towards the mat. At the end of this exhale, gaze in between the hands. Bring the feet to the top of the mat. Come into a forward bend, forward fold. Relax the shoulders. Take one more deep breath. Let's come on up to standing. Bend your knees and take your time coming up. Roll the shoulders away from your ears. Make your adjustments. Bring your hands into prayer, coming to the top half of the mat. With your inhale, stretch your arms out and over. Let the palms touch. And as you exhale, fold into forward bend. In this forward bend, bend one knee. Straighten the other leg and then switch, pedaling out the feet. And you feel a little bit through those hips, the low back. If your hands don't touch the ground, you can place your hands on your thighs or on your knees, no problem. Blocks are useful as well if you have them handy. And then finding your way back to forward bend. A little softness in the knee if you feel too much of a tug to the back of the legs, the low back. Next, inhale, lift up halfway for flat back. Nice long spine, draw the belly in, crown of the head reaching forward. That figure 7 shape. Next, exhale, fold, forward bend. Take the right leg and step it back. Take the left leg and stretch it, step it back. High push-up position. Low push-up from your toes so you can bring those knees down. You keep those elbows close to the body, shift slightly forward and lower all the way down onto the ground. Get this out of the way. Coming into Cobra, we're holding it a little longer, hands by your chest. Squeeze the arms in close to the body. Draw your chest forward and lift up only as high as is comfortable for you, feeling the stretch to the front of the body. A little lift to the chin as well. Soft gaze. 2 more deep breaths. And lower all the way back down onto the ground. Curl your toes under. Safest way to come into down dog is from your knees, but you do whatever it takes. Curl your toes under, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. In your down dog, try turning your gaze under the right arm and shifting the hips over to the right side. This is just an option. You don't have to do this. You can just stay in down dog and even come to rest in child's pose. Take the left foot and cross it behind the right. An option to reach that left hand towards the top left corner of the mat, just to feel this a little bit more to the left side of the body. Come back to center and do the same thing on the other side. Turn your gaze under the left arm, shift your hips towards the left. And if you need more, cross that right foot behind the left and inch that right hand towards the top right corner of the mat. Make your way back to downward facing dog. Take the right foot and step it up in between the hands. Stay here, let the hips sink a little, align the front knee over the front ankle. Keep the spine long, back leg strong. If you need to lower the back knee down onto the mat, not a problem, but we're taking a twist by placing the left hand on the ground and right hand on your right thigh. Get the right shoulder higher than the left. And option to extend that right hand up towards the ceiling. Good, take 1 more deep breath. Bring that right hand back down onto the mat. Step that front foot back. High push-up. Low push-up from your toes or from your knees. All the way down onto the ground. Draw your chest forward, coming into Cobra. And this time exhaling back to downward facing dog. Step the left foot forward for runner's lunge. Take your time, look to a line. You may have to scoot that back foot back a little, inch that front knee forward so that the front knee is aligned over the front ankle. Let the hips sink a little. Take a long spine. Keep that right hand on the ground or on the block. Left hand on the thigh. Rotate your left shoulder higher than the right. Take the left hand, stretch it up towards the ceiling. Feel as though you're pulling those hands away from one another if you've got that left arm extended up. 1 more. Bring that left hand back down to the ground. Step that front foot back into a high push-up. You can either head right back to downward facing dog or take that low push-up. Inhale, Cobra, or even upward facing dog, thighs off the mat. And exhale, take it back to downward facing dog. Curl your toes under, lift your hips up and back. In your down dog, step the left foot forward, step the right foot forward, or you can walk your feet to the top of the mat, not a problem. Once you're there, fold, forward bend. Inhale, lift all the way back up. Going up to standing, reaching the arms up and over, letting the palms touch, maybe a gentle back bend, and exhale, hands back to prayer. Inhale, reach the arms up and over. Exhale, fold, forward bend. Inhale, lift up halfway, flat back. Exhale, hands on the mat, step the left foot back. And then step the right foot back. Low push-up. Inhale, Cobra or up dog. And exhale back to downward facing dog. Float the right foot off the mat for three-legged dog. Try to place that left heel a little closer towards the ground if it's not down there already. One more breath. Rise up onto your left tiptoes and then step the right foot up in between the hands for runner's lunge once again. Gently lower the back knee down onto the mat. At least make sure that left knee is at least slightly behind the hips. Okay. Try to melt the hips down and forward. So this down and forward pressure that you're placing on yourself by pressing the hips down and forward, and you should feel that stretch to the front of that left hip. If you need a little bit more, hands on the front thigh, you can crawl your hands up, trying to peel the belly away from the thigh, shoulders away from the ears, chest lifting up towards the ceiling, maybe even turning your gaze up. Even as you press those hips down and forward, you're keeping your chest lifted, spine lifted, lots of length. 2 more deep breaths. 1 more. Stay as you are, or take your left hand, reach it up high. Take your right hand, reach it up high. Interlace fingers, pointer index fingers. Option for back bend, lifting the chest. And as you exhale, draw those arms and shoulders back a little. Only go as far as comfortable for you. You want to feel that stretch, but without straining the low back. 1 more deep breath. And then inhale, come on back up. Release your hands down onto the ground. Now if your hands don't comfortably touch the ground for this next half split, use a block, because we're going to walk the hands back towards the hips to straighten the front leg. So if you find that you're rounding your spine up quite a bit here, use those blocks so that you are able to lift up a little higher, keep a straighter spine even as you fold over the extended leg. If you've got good flexibility, back of the right leg, then lower those blocks down a little so you can place your forearms on your blocks. Just a little challenge here. So wherever you are, be okay with it as long as you're feeling the stretch. Try peeling the right toes off the ground. Keep with this, stay with the breath. Last one. Release. Walk your hands back to the top of the mat, curl the back toe under. Find your way back to downward facing dog. If you want, you can flow as well. Low push-up, up dog, and down dog. If not, head right back. Okay. Low push-up, Cobra, up dog, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Lift the left foot off the mat for three-legged dog. So really trying to bring that right heel down a little closer towards the ground if it's not down there already. Rise up onto your right tiptoes and step the left foot up in between the hands for a runner's lunge. Gently lower the back knee down onto the mat. Notice front knee over the front ankle, back knee at least slightly behind the hips. Press those hips down and forward, as though you're trying to place that right thigh on the mat. If you need a little bit more, crawl your hands up the leg, hands on the left thigh. Even as you're pressing the hips down and forward, lift the chest, roll the shoulders, relax the shoulders away from the ears, turn your gaze up a little. Find a little bit more space in the ribs. Lift a little higher with the chest. Take the right hand, reach it up towards the ceiling. And this is just an option. And then you can take that left hand, reach it up as well. Interlace fingers, pointed index fingers. If you're attempting a back bend here, keep those legs steady and stable. Lift the chest a little bit more, find a little bit more space. And then as you exhale, draw those arms and shoulders back. Inhale to come back up. Exhale, release those hands down onto the ground. Use those blocks if you need to, but we're straightening the left leg by shifting the hips back, straightening the left leg, walking your hands back and a little closer towards the hips. Strong straight leg. Inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale to fold. If you've got those blocks handy, go for forearms on the block. Maybe just that right forearm or both. One more. Walk your hands back towards the top of the mat. Curl the back to under. Step that front foot back. High push-up. Low push-up. Inhale, Cobra, up dog. And exhale back to downward facing dog. Okay. At the end of this exhale, gaze in between the hands, feet to the top of the mat. Step, walk, or hop it up. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold forward bend, and inhale, coming all the way back up. Reach the arms up and over. Gentle back bend at the very top, and then exhale, hands back to prayer. Inhale, reach those arms up and over. Interlace fingers, pointed index fingers, and we're taking it over to the right side for a side stretch. So inhale, lots of length in the spine. Exhale to the right. One more deep breath. And inhale back to the center. Exhale over to the left. Inhale, back to the middle. Exhale, release, coming into forward fold. Next inhale, lift up halfway, flat back. Exhale, hands on the mat, step, walk, or hop it back. High push-up, low push-up. Inhale into Cobra, up dog. And exhale your way back to downward facing dog. Take the right leg and lift it up high, three-legged dog. Bend the right knee as though you're trying to kick yourself. Right heel in towards the hips. Point that knee up towards the ceiling. Just a little bit more. Level off the hips. Step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Gently lower the back knee down onto the mat. So let the right knee open up a little. If you want to stay here, you can, or you can bring your forearms down onto the ground. And you might have to crawl that left knee back a little to feel the stretch to the inside of the right thigh. So wherever you are, be okay with it. Let those hips sink a little bit more. One more deep breath. Bring your right hand to the inside of the right thigh. And turn your gaze over the right shoulder. And this is just an option. If you don't feel like doing this, stick to the first one if this doesn't feel good. So that sometimes adding the twist does feel a little really nice in the low back especially. One more deep breath. Carefully unwind back to the front. Bring both hands to the inside of the front foot. Now the same thing as before, we're going to straighten the front leg, but we're not moving the position of the front leg. So keeping it at a bit of an angle towards the right side, you're walking your hands back in and using blocks if necessary. Now letting your right leg open up. Another inhale to lift. And then as you exhale, fold. And the same as before, if you can bring one forearm down onto the ground, onto a block, great. If not, don't worry about it. Take a couple more deep breaths. All right, coming back into your runner's lunge, crawl that right foot back to the center, curl the back toe under, and find your way back to downward facing dog. Head it right back is fine, all flowing. And holding it here, downward facing dog. Child's pose if you need to take a break. Next, we're lifting the left leg high. Bend the left knee and try pointing the knee towards the ceiling and trying to kick yourself with the left foot. One more. Level off the hips and step that left foot to the outside of the left hand, pointing it out at a little bit of an angle. Gently lower the back knee. Again, we're letting that knee open up towards the left side, and if you have to, crawl that right knee back a little. Staying on your hands is fine, and coming down to your forearms if you prefer. Option to bring that left hand to the inside of the left thigh. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of twist, turning your gaze over that left shoulder. And then coming back to the center, bring your hands down onto the ground. Walk your front foot back to the midline. And then find your way back to downward facing dog from here. Again, flow if you want more. A little bit of movement in down dog, pedal out the feet. Move into a warrior one with the right foot stepping up in between the hands. Warrior one. Chest facing forward, front knee bent, back leg straight. Make sure the back heel is flat on the ground. The back foot is flat on the ground. One more deep breath. Open up into a warrior two, long side of the mat. One more deep breath. Straighten out the front leg and turn the front foot so that both toes are pointing in the same direction, and then pivot both heels inwards so that your toes are pointed towards the shorter edges of the mat. And allow the hips to sink in a little. So just kind of make sure that the front knee is over the front ankle. So adjust until they are so. Place your hands on your thighs with the thumbs pointed back. Okay. Now we're going to let the hips sink a little bit more as you let your left shoulder drop down towards the middle. And your right shoulder will be lifted up. Then a little push off that left hand into your thigh. One more. Coming back up. We'll do the same thing on the other side. And come on back up. Back into your goddess pose. You can stay here with your hands on your thighs, especially if your balance is not too great here. Or draw the belly in. Arms in a cactus position or goalpost arms. Relax the shoulders. Take 3 more breaths. Straighten the front leg, straighten the legs, And then bring yourself back into downward facing dog from here. Again, right back is fine or flow. Stepping the left foot forward for warrior one and then coming into warrior two. So start with warrior one, take your time, set it up. Opening up into a warrior two, to the long side of the mat. And then straighten the front leg. Pivot the front toes so that both toes are pointed in the same direction. I'm just going to turn to face you. Now coming back into those goddess legs. Pivot the heels inward so that the toes are pointed to the sides of your mat. And sinking into your goddess legs. So for the next one, you may need a block or two. Right hand comes down into the ground or onto a block. So right hand comes down, left hand's on your thighs. Okay. As you press down into that right hand, try to get the left shoulder a little higher. Let the hips sink a little bit more. Stay here or extend that left hand up towards the ceiling. And then release, coming back down, switching the hands. So you can start off with the right hand on the right thigh so that you can get your right shoulder higher than the left. Sink those hips. And then extend that right hand up towards the ceiling. Bring both hands back down onto the ground. Walk your way back towards the front of the mat. And then find your way back to your downward facing dog. A little bit of movement here, pedaling out the feet. Next, we're coming into Pigeon Pose for the hips. Now, single-legged Pigeon Pose with the right knee up behind the right wrist and left leg straight back. Now, if this is hard on your right knee, you don't like this pose, a few things you can do. You can place a block under the right hip so that your hip doesn't sink down too much. So you can grab a block. If your right knee is forward, place the block under your right hip. If this still doesn't feel good, then by all means, come on down to your back instead and do your figure four stretch. And that means crossing the right ankle just above the left knee on your thigh and maybe gathering the left knee a little closer towards the body. So whatever you end up doing, you want to be able to find some ease in this pose. So making sure that your spine is level. If you're in single-legged Pigeon Pose, you're going to come on down and then relax the upper body, be it resting your head on a block, on the floor, or on stacked fists. And if you need a little bit more, curl the back toe under and walk the foot back a little. Make sure you're not sinking over to the right side. You're trying to keep those hips level. You're breathing. Only if you think you could use more, walk the upper body towards the left side. So you want to bring that foot closer towards the midline of your chest. Okay, so walking the body over to the left side. And then if you could use even more than that, that right hand reaches away from the body. Okay, so you want to bring your right ear down towards the ground. Just settle in here. Try to keep that left hip from pivoting open. It really wants to lift up. So you're pushing down in towards the ground. Take 3 more deep breaths here. And then inhale, come on back to the center. And then make your way back to downward facing dog. Curl your toes under, make your way back to down dog. If you're on your back, just stay there, roll it out instead. For those of you coming into down dog, you can add a vinyasa flow here as well. A little bit of movement, pedal out the feet. Getting ready to come into pigeon with the left foot forward. So left knee up behind the left wrist. Your right leg is straight back. Keep those hips level. Make use of your props. Again, if you need it, place a block under that left hip to keep the hips level. Start to make your way down. Relax the upper body, soften your face, shoulders. Just breathe here. If you need more, curl the back toe under and shift the hips, shift the foot back and reach it back a little. Only if you think you could use more, walk the body towards the right side of the mat. Even more than that, the left hand walks away from you and bring the left ear down into the ground. Come on back to the center, back to the middle, and find your way back to downward facing dog. Shifting forward and coming all the way down onto the floor, place your right forearm on the ground at about a 45-degree angle. Make sure the elbow is somewhat under the shoulder so that you're steady and supported. Draw your chest forward. Okay. Bend the left knee and reach behind to grab a hold of that left foot. Okay. Press that foot into the hand. Draw your chest forward. Hold it here. And then relax. Now, using your left hand, pull that foot a little closer towards the hips. If you can, bring your hand to the back of that left foot and then kind of pivot your fingertips forward as you push that foot down a little closer towards the hips. Do your best. Doesn't have to be very close as long as you're feeling the stretch to the front of that left leg. So chest continues to draw forward. We'll hold it here for 3, 2, and 1. Carefully release. Don't let that spring back. Hit back, lower all the way down to the ground. Curl your toes under. Keep the knees on the ground. Walk your hands forward. Look for lots of length in the spine. Coming back forward, all the way down to the ground. Place that left forearm on the ground. We'll start with kind of like a bow pose, a dancer's version. Just grab a hold of that right foot with the right hand. You can grab on the outside or the inside, doesn't matter. But we're pushing the foot into the hand, drawing the chest forward. A little strength here for 1 more. And then we'll soften. And now you're trying to pull that foot in a little closer towards the hips. Again, if you can, your hand comes up and holds onto the shoelace part of your foot. And then pivot so that the fingertips are rotated forward and then pushing that foot closer towards the hips. Let's hold it here for 3 breaths. Try to project the chest forward. 2 more. 1 more. Carefully release, don't let it spring back. Curl your toes under, walk your hands forward. Draw the hips back. Look for a long line in the spine. One more. Okay, and then walk your hands back in towards you. Come and grab a seat. Bring the soles of the feet together. Knees open up. Cobblers Pose. Inhale. Lengthen the spine. Bring your belly towards the feet. Bring your chest a little closer towards the feet. And when you can't go anymore, allow the chin to tuck in a little, soften around the shoulders. If you need a little bit more space, triceps along the shins. Pull it forward, pull your chest forward. Hold on to your feet. And then soften. Okay, whatever's available to you. If you find that too hard, you can even have your hands behind you. Push your chest forward, belly forward that way. One more deep breath. And I'm coming back up. Hands behind you. Fingertips pointed forward if possible towards the feet. If that's too hard on the wrists and shoulders, a slight pivot outwards is fine. But fingertips pointed forward if you can. Tabletop from here. Press down into the feet, into the hands to lift up. Let the head drop slightly. Don't let it strain your neck though. Okay, so gaze up. The head drop slightly. Good. One more. And then lower all the way back down onto the ground. Next one, coming into double pigeon for the hips. With this pose, you're coming into double pigeon with the left knee under and the right on top. So left foot under. So left shin is going to be parallel to the top of the mat. And if you can, place the ankle, the right ankle on the knee. And so you're creating this fire log effect with your shin. If this is hard, you can place a block in between the legs. And if that's still hard, place a block in front of the bottom knee so that you can actually still create the shape somewhat, but without too extreme of stress on your knee, on your top knee, especially that right knee. So wherever you end up, you're in double pigeon. You've got your hands behind you, just as you did for your Cobblers Pose. You can have your hands behind you or in front of you. And if you do have it in front of you, belly towards the thighs and then leaning forward. So if you're able to relax into this pose, do so. Let's stay here for about 3 to 5 deep breaths. And crawl your hands back in towards you. Lean back so you can unwind those legs and cross those legs. Little windshield wiper, letting the knees drop side to side. Let's move right onto the other side. See if your right shin is parallel to the top of the mat and it's at the bottom. Place your ankle on top of your knee. So you've got your left knee on top of your left ankle on top of your right knee. And again, making sure that you use whatever props is necessary for your body. Okay, and no pain, just a little discomfort from the stretch, but that's okay. Just no sharp pain. Again, hands by your side. Perfectly fine to stay here if you're feeling the stretch. If you need a little bit more, you're leaning forward, bowing forward. 5 deep breaths. Start to make your way back up to seated. And cross those legs. Windshield wipers. Let the knees drop side to side. Back to that reverse tabletop pose. Feet about hips width apart, flat down on the ground. Hands slightly behind you, 6 inches or so. Spread those fingers. Press down into the hands and feet to lift the hips off the mat. And then release all the way down onto the ground. Coming into Hero's Pose. With Hero's Pose, if we're coming onto our knees and sitting back onto the feet. So you're just going to make a little space for your hips to nestle in between the feet. And if this is too much for you, you can always grab a block or two to place under the hips instead. Okay, so a pillow or bolster will work just as well. So if you're able to bring the feet, your hips down onto the feet, you find that you can lean back a little bit to deepen the stretch as well. Do so. So the more you can lean back, the deeper the stretch will be. Some of you will be able to come all the way down to the ground, but I want you to be careful as you do that. As you come down, continue to project your head towards the back wall to create lots of space in the spine. So coming down to your forearms is fine. Okay, and then of course all the way down, just being very careful as you do that. Your knees will want to pop off the mat and splay open. Do your best to keep the thighs parallel to one another and keeping the knees grounded as best as you can. Okay, so lots of length in the spine. And then finally, if you could even use more than this, reach your arms overhead. Grab opposite elbows. Don't feel like you have to go deeper than necessary. So stay with what works for you as long as you're feeling the stretch. One more deep breath. If you are on the back, slowly make your way up. Crawl onto your forearms, crawl onto your hands, and then walk your hands back in. Okay. Lean slightly forward. Pick those hips off the feet. Make your way back into a tabletop position. And just one leg at a time, stretch it back. And then the other. The movement of the hips shifting side to side. And then we're coming down onto our back. So I'm going to turn around so that we can do shoelace on the back. This is a little easier for you to see me this way. So come on down onto your back. Okay, have your knees hugged into the chest. Roll it out a little. And we're going to cross the right knee on top of the left. Now, in shoelace on your back, you want to make sure that you're squeezing the thighs in towards one another and doing your best to line up those knees. So this is cow face pose on the back too, for those of you who use the Sanskrit version. Translation. Okay, so with this one, you can do a few things. You can either hug the back of your thighs and squeeze the knees, and if you're feeling it to the outside of the hips, stay there. If you need a little bit more, you're going to slide your hands from the kneecaps down the shins, and after you're tightening a shoelace, pull the shins away from pull the feet away from one another. And of course, if you can reach all the way down to the edges of your feet, you can still do the same thing as well. Okay, so one of the two. I find holding onto the shin is nice as well. It just allows you a little bit better grip. Okay, and then your arms are somewhat strong here. You're pulling the legs away from one another, the feet away from one another, and then pulling down in towards the chest as well. Okay, so let's take a few deep breaths. So wherever you are, be happy with it as long as you're feeling the stretch. And then we'll release that and switch it around. So you've got your left knee on top of the right, and do the same thing. Slide your hands down the kneecaps to grab a hold of the shin or grab behind the thighs. Again, pulling out and down. And then release, uncross those legs, and then place your feet on the ground. Place your feet flat on the ground, about hips width apart. Coming into bridge pose. Press down into the feet to lift the hips off the mat. Interlace the fingers under the hips. If you could use a little bit more, bring those arms in a little closer towards one another. So just for those of you who want to try lifting one foot off the ground, transfer your weight to the right leg and lift the left foot off the ground. Again, that's not necessary, just for fun. If you've got the left leg up, send that left leg up high, even a little closer towards the head. One more. And then lower that left foot down to the ground. Again, press back into your bridge. Transfer your weight to the other leg. And then extend right leg up towards the ceiling. Lower the right foot down onto the mat. Bridge pose, and slowly roll that spine all the way down onto the ground. Walk the feet out a little wider than normal so that maybe your big toes are touching the ground and the heels are on the mat. Place your hands behind your head, elbows off to the sides, off to the sides, and then let the knees drop towards the right. So your right knee opens up to the right side, and you let your left knee collapse inwards. Inhale, come back to the center, and then let the knees drop to the other side. And then coming back to the center, walk your feet back in towards one another. Gather your knees into the chest for a little squeeze, a little roll out. And we've come to the end of the class, finishing off in Shavasana. If you're leaving us now, thank you very much for joining. I hope that worked well for you. The hips feel a little looser, legs feel a little stretched, a little bit more stretched out. If you're coming into Shavasana, take any other movements that you need to take. Make sure you are comfortable. Stretch out and take up space on your mat, and scan the body. Close your eyes. Scan the body from feet up. Make sure you're not holding on to any tension. The legs growing heavy. Belly, spine, low back, more at ease. Relaxing your arms, your hands and fingers. Allowing your shoulders to relax. Soften your facial features, jaw, cheeks, space in between the eyebrows and forehead, all at ease. Feeling calm all the way up to the crown of the head. And with calm, relaxed body, calm, relaxed mind, enjoy your Shavasana. Enjoy peace. Very slowly, peacefully and calmly, make your way out of this pose by moving your fingers, your toes, by rolling out your wrists and ankles, by letting your head gently drop side to side. And if you like to take a big stretch, with your inhale, stretch from toes to fingertips. Feel those ribs expand, and then exhale to release. One more hug of the knees into the chest, one more roll out. And then make your way back up to seated. All right. I thank you very much for joining me today. I hope that helped, and namaste.